I hereby introduce to you Mr. Michael Veazey.
Hello, I'm Michael Veazey from Amazing FBA. If you want to be super awesome and stoked, you better go elsewhere. This one's for the Brits. Isolation is a dream killer. We all know that. The cure is connection. If you're new to Amazon, working to get a product live, but you've not yet got one launched, I've created a brand new solution especially for you. It's the Zero to Hero London Mastermind. It's designed to do one thing, get you launched on Amazon. So if you're stuck in research, supply negotiation with Chinese or importing, if you're lost in listing creation or launch strategy, we can sort you out. How does it work? Simple. We have a physical meeting once a month in North London, maximum 15 people in the room, 30 minutes each to solve your biggest business problem. We're action, not talk, guys. Video accountability call once a month, a newsletter once a month, and an exclusive Facebook group. It's simple, it's powerful, and it's hands-on. It works. For more details or to apply, go to amazingfba.com/London Mastermind. Amazing FBA, and that's F for Freddy, B as in Bravo, A as in Amazon.com/London Mastermind. There's a special deal on now, but only for the first 5 members to join. So to find out more, go to amazingfba.com/London Mastermind. Thanks for listening. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. This is your host, Michael Veazey of Amazing FBA. Today, we have a fantastic guest, Chris Rawlings of Judolaunch, who have been riffing in the last episode on all sorts of mindset stuff and the journey of the entrepreneur, especially in the Amazon space, but more generally as well. Really beg you to listen to that. I think it's got some very, very important lessons that you need to hear. It's not just tactical stuff. So if you want to hear more from Chris, go to amazingfba.com/Chris R. But today, episode 2 of the interviews with Chris, we are going to focus on tactical stuff. So if that's what you're after, here it is. So Judolaunch, tell us, just remind us, Chris, what Judolaunch came into being about and what it does today.
Yeah, Judolaunch was basically started out of my own experience growing my brand internationally. So it was started to help brands expand internationally. And the bread and butter of it was executing launches for brands internationally. Because that's one of the hardest things. It's like, okay, I get the country I live in, but some foreign country with some foreign language, say you're launching from the US to Germany or from the UK to Japan or whatever, I have no freaking idea where to start. So Judolaunch started executing launch campaigns so that people can start just getting units out into the hands of customers and get more visibility on Amazon by getting those sales rolling really, really quickly, instead of taking the slow, 8 to 12 month route of just, trying to drive traffic to a listing with no social validation and, that's on page 20, and so on. So we wanted to allow brands to expand much more quickly. Since Judolaunch launched, we've actually done in the high hundreds of launch campaigns, nearly 1,000. And, it's just growing every month. There's a huge need for this. And I think there are other folks that do launching, but our thing has been, we help with launch, but we also help the brand themselves. They have dialogue with our people, with human beings who also have experience with Amazon. And we also help them after they've had the successful launch. Because what kept happening to us when we were in the very early stages was people would launch in the US and launch from the US to Europe. And then they'd have this great success and they'd be like, holy shit, thank you. Like now my revenue is increased by 40% a year or whatnot. But now I have a whole other job, and that's to manage this European account. So we created a product that allows sellers to put the day-to-day management of their account on autopilot, essentially, for like a tiny fraction of the cost that these services typically do for that type of service. So that's Judolaunch in a nutshell.
Excellent. So that makes a lot of sense. And I think, it's so interesting that you've seen a problem that I've had a couple of bites at a couple of those cherries. That's a terrible extension of metaphor. Sorry to anyone who has any taste out there. Sorry. And also I'm doing well here. So let me come back to the point is that, trying to get people to launch in Europe for Americans is quite a mystifying process. And I went through a huge back and forth dialogue and all sorts of complex potential contracts with some American guy a while ago who's a very successful Amazon seller, and he wanted to do launch in Europe and couldn't get his head around VAT. That just blows up every American I've ever met.
Yep.
Eventually just said, why don't I just sell you this stuff myself and we'll get on with it. And that's what I and my business partner have done, and that's worked fine. So it can be quite complex. Having tried to do that, I can say from experience that, don't do this at home. If you're just trying to do it DIY, it can be very complex. For Americans selling into Europe specifically, obviously it's true. For Brits going into Japan, even worse. I mean, a couple of friends of mine tried to do that. Pretty complex. Doing it yourself does seem to be quite a painful way of doing it if you're not careful. And the other thing is post-launch thing, managing accounts. Again, I've tried managing an account for somebody, and it's a very involved process. If you can find somebody that's got it down and systematized, it's really, really worth getting that down, because somebody's going to do it in a very manual way. It's going to be expensive. I was charging like 25% of payout, which is quite a conventional figure for managing somebody's account. So yeah, those are two things that are quite difficult to make you do it yourself. I've tried, so I know. I'm not just speculating. So I think it's very important to flag out to people just how important it is that somebody's got a scaled, simplified, stripped down way of doing it. So having said that, Chris, tell us more about how it actually works. Let's talk through a sort of case study. Let's say I come to you and I'm a British seller, because that's the primary audience here, although a lot of Americans listening. And I want to launch my stuff in Japan because I've heard it's a really lucrative market, but I don't know where the hell to start. What's the process?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's ideal for us. That situation that you just said is totally ideal for us. So it depends on what stage you're at. If you already have your inventory in Japan, then like the very next day we can start the launch. You just book a launch. You can run it right through the platform. You track the success of the launch through the platform. You see the sales going. You see your ranking change, your BSR change as the launch is happening, in real time on the Judolaunch platform. Or if you're just the guy that you said that wants it to happen, then we come at you with a partner network, and we've created these relationships with the best folks in the industry who can do everything that it takes to get there. So this is really for companies that want to grow fast. They want to just spend to increase their sales. They want to spend it to get it. And there's such a gigantic opportunity in e-commerce right now for these, medium-sized brands to grow really, really quickly. That I found that this thesis that I had about the market ended up being true, because there's just a gigantic demand for what we do. So we set them up with everything they need. Their agent, whoever is going to set them up to pay the Japan consumption tax, which is their version of VAT, and do the filings for them. The Judo Ops, which is their account management, so that they can get customer service in Japanese and local Japanese ready to go, and their launch, so that they're basically set. They have, okay, this is the best logistics partner, the best tax partner, the best everything partner, and we've made deals with all of these folks so that they get a discount price by going through us. So it's just like a turnkey solution for them.
Sorry, interrupting. So do you put the seller in touch with all these guys, and you take a sort of commission as a sort of agency, or do you just basically manage it? You're the one point of contact that the seller works with?
It's the latter. Yeah. So we're just the point of contact. We make it all happen. We're not even concerned with getting these commissions, because we just want to provide the value. We know that our part comes into play when we do the launch and we do the automation, because that's what we do in-house. But we've made this network so that we made these specific deals with all of these partners so that we could just offer more value.
Amazing. So that's basically a free service. So you'll put people in touch with.
Yep.
So what are let's give a precise case study, and then we can take a sort of mental thought experiment. So let's say I've got a product that's selling quite well in the US. It's been manufactured in China. I'm UK based, but it doesn't make much difference. And I'm selling, 300 units a month in the US. It's doing fine. I want to go put a sort of little test order into Japan. So I'll probably just air freight it out to start with. Although I guess between China and Japan isn't that much of a delay, right? But I mean, for a small quantity, let's say I want
exactly. That's the beauty.
So let's say I want to sell 500 units or something like that to Japan from my factory in China.
Yeah.
Next, I go, right, I haven't got a clue. When I come to Chris and his team,
Yeah.
I go, right, what do I do next? And what do I do?
Yeah.
And what do you do to make that happen?
So, well, for the first thing you get is the step-by-step, here's what you need to do from us.
Fantastic.
And then the next thing you get is here's what just so you know, here's what you can expect to need to do in terms of a launch to really get selling for this category. So if it's like a really high volume category, maybe you don't even realize it, but maybe because it's sex toys and Japan is crazy for sex toys, there's a lot more demand than you think. And it's actually a really competitive category. And you didn't think it was because you were only selling them, I don't know, some other country that's not crazy for sex toys. So we'll tell you what size launch you need to do. So it'll be like, here's the size of launch that you can expect to have to do once you get there, in order to get selling, significant volumes, and give you an analysis of the market itself. And the beauty of this is, like, yes, there's people involved on our side, on the Judolaunch side, they're human beings, but a lot of this comes from algorithms that we've created. So it's a scalable business, I'm just talking from my perspective now. This is a scalable thing, and which is why I went into software, because it's so much more scalable. And I have lucky enough to have an amazing co-founder and CTO who manages our developers. But we have proprietary algorithms that can do these calculations in 0 time. So we can crank these out, which gives us this scale, this scale of workflow that consulting agencies don't have, so that we can offer like fractions of a cost of like an Amazon consulting agency, because we're actually tech based. And that's the beauty of it. You get the people, you get the human contact, but you're getting the scalability of the tech, which decreases the price significantly, because we can afford to, because we can have more flow through per person. So so that
makes a lot of sense. And also from the consumer's point of view, I have to say that one of the issues is scalability. That if you get too many people coming on board, what happens with a lot of companies, and we've all been there, I guess, with that in early stages when you're offering a service to somebody, is you say, yeah, whatever, I'll take the business. You put the stake in the ground, like we were saying, you jump out of the plane and then build the parachute. But the trouble is, if you've got too many people hanging onto the parachute, you may not build a big enough one in time. So in other words, if you have capacity for 6 customers in your sales department, which may be just you, if you're starting out sells 8, then you're in trouble. Whereas if you've got software and it's scalable, that means that the customers can be reassured that, or the clients, that you'll actually deliver, and you'll deliver in a reasonable time frame. So I think it's a very important point from the point of view of an Amazon seller coming to you is going to be reassured by that. And I think the combination of human contact but software back end is a brilliant combination, and you're making
it's huge, dude. There's
so
a name for it in the Valley. Yeah, it's called, because I think most people would be familiar with the term SaaS, which is software as a service.
Yeah.
But tech-enabled service is basically a new like fusion category. It's like bench would be one. So bench automates accounting, but you get a point of contact, an actual human being that you can dialogue through their platform. We're bench, but for Amazon sellers. And the other thing is that makes it so important to have a person is that everyone who's already selling knows, and this episode is, more geared towards the higher level sellers versus the first episode, which we were talking a lot more towards people just getting started. The people who have been selling for a while know this ecosystem moves so fast, and our job is to stay on top of it. So launching in 2018 is totally different than launching in 2017, which was totally different than launching in 2016. And it changes like month to month, not even year to year. It's like constantly changing, but it's our full-time job to stay on top of that. So that's why another reason why like it makes sense to have human beings. Like I would say now versus, like you said earlier, I believe what was still in this episode, strictly private label is on its way out. And brands that are more creative when it comes to either product design or just branding in and of itself, or their model, their distribution model or their partnership model, or even their partnerships in general, like influencer marketing and stuff like that. Those are the ones that are really going to win, I think, in 2018 and 2019. And so we are on top of this. Like, for instance, we just launched the beta of what we call List Boom, which allows anyone who launches to keep the data from their customer. And it's like almost like, why the fuck would they do that? Because they're a launch service, so you'd think they would want you to keep coming back to them to launch, not have their own customer base to launch to in the future. But it doesn't matter. Like, we really only care about keeping up with the times of what works now. And the fact of the matter is, right now, it's more important than ever to have your own ecosystem of customers built around your brand. And like you said, starting a brand that's built around a person, so you're not just selling a garlic press, a folding knife, and t-shirts. Like, you are selling nerve pain supplements, nerve pain like arm braces, and nerve pain this, and this. That's a real brand. And for those brands, and those are the ones that I believe are going to win and continue to win, and I see win, it's so important to have your customer ecosystem. And we saw that trend, and that's why we released this new feature that allows people to keep the data from their customers so they can do a launch, and then after that, they have a list of people who have their products, use their products, and are their ideal customer already ready to go. And the next time they have a product launch, they can send it to them, and they can get ideas from them, or get video testimonials from them, or feedback, or drive them to a new page, or whatever. They own that ecosystem then.
Excellent. So in a way, you're starting to think more about using Amazon as a sort of front end, as a launch platform, as a front end for collecting your customer data. But again, a bit like we were talking about, the sort of the reason why mind action is important is because it builds your mindset and experience, which enables you to take bigger action. I guess in this way, it's kind of you building a customer base by selling products, but actually really what you want is the customer base in order to enable you to build a more solid brand in future, that kind of thing. Is that right? Is that you're thinking?
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, exactly. And the beauty of running Judolaunch while still having my own brand is that I'm keeping up with the trends just to keep my own business ahead of the curve. So like, I know what really, really works and what actually doesn't. So yeah, that's a really big deal, because I think there are a lot of, companies and service providers and education people, like you said earlier, in the first episode, that don't actually do it. They just want to teach it but not do it. And those folks, I'm much less inclined to trust, I think.
Yeah, there's a quote that I think it's probably a quote from somebody else, but Perry Marshall, who's somebody very interesting who I'm on his lists and follow, said, "Never trust a man without skin in the game, or a woman for that matter." And I think it's true. It's very tempting on the one hand. I guess if you're going to build a software service or a service-based thing, or information education like Amazing FBA is the same thing, you do end up spending a lot of time and energy on it, and that is important. But you've got to have some skin in the Amazon game to keep ahead of the curve. Exactly like you said, it changes month by month, literally sometimes. So yes. Let's come back to this. This imagined launch in Japan. Let's make it sort of concrete and real. So let's say I've got 500 units of my garlic press. They're in China. I come to you. The first thing you do is give me a step-by-step guide. You predict how much money I'm going to need to spend, how many units I'm going to need to do to launch. What's the next step? You're putting me in touch with a freight forwarder or something
yes.
like that, or?
Yep. Then we put you in touch with the partners to execute that step-by-step guide for the things that we don't do ourselves. So we know we can do launch. We know we can do account automation. We don't do freight forwarding. So we're going to put you in touch with the folks who only do freight forwarding for Amazon brands in Japan, specifically from China to Japan, and understand that entire flow, who have already worked out a deal with us so that you're automatically approved, because some of them you actually have to apply. And if you don't meet certain requirements, you don't get approved. And some of the best ones, like Flexport, for instance, you need to apply. And if you don't meet their requirements, you don't get approved. Well, if you go through us, not only do you get a better rate, but you also are guaranteed approval. So so you get linked up with the partners for the things that we don't do. And then we link you up, for the launch. And then once your launch is successfully done, then we hook you up with the account automation, and then boom, you're good to go. That's all the steps of the equation right there.
So tell us a bit more about the launch service that you offer, and how does that actually look? Let's say I've got, I don't know, maybe it's a bit of a small thing to be using a launch service. Let's say I've got 1,000 units of some widget that costs about $3 to manufacture, a fairly typical thing, and plus a bit of freight and customs duty and what have you. So say about $5 landed. I mean, the numbers would be different in Japan than US, I guess. But so I've got these 1,000 units. I want to do a little sort of test launch. Is it even worth using you guys for a smallish order like that, or is it? If it is, what would you do at that point? What's the exact action?
It definitely is with my mindset. Like I said, there's different ways to go about it. You might go the slow growth route, but we are specifically geared towards sellers who are expanding rapidly. So some sellers, if they have a different mindset, it's not right for them. But for the ones that want to grow fast and want to expand really rapidly, that's when you do a proper launch. And so you're just uploading a link, your Amazon product link to the Judolaunch. It sources automatically all of the data from the product. We need discount codes from you that steeply discount the product because it needs to incentivize lots of people to buy very, very quickly. And then we send that out over a period of 7 days, and you track that. And it's using a cadence that really tells the algorithm that this is a product that's selling in increasing amounts. So each day the sales are greater than the previous day. And it's like, whoa, okay, this product is definitely something that people want. Let's show it to more people. And then more people see it, you get more organic sales, and then that further drives. So instead of being on the negative side of the reinforcing feedback loop, no sales, no reviews, no ranking, no visibility, no sales, you get on this positive side, you have tons of sales, more visibility, more organic sales, more visibility, more reviews, more feedback, more sales. So it just, boom, pops you up into the positive reinforcing feedback loop cycle.
So tell me about the review side, because obviously ranking reviews. I mean, I go to meetings of the mastermind. I've been a member for about 2 years now, and there's some pretty experienced sellers in there. There's one guy's doing $1 million a month, so a couple of guys doing $250,000 or whatever. But the same topics keep coming up, which is ranking and reviews. It comes back round. Okay, guys. So how do we rank stuff? How do we get reviews? So tell me about about ranking. How do we get reviews in Japan, for example, if we're working on that?
So actually sellers I was just talking to Nick Katz, who's the Amazon guy. I think his website is actually theamazonguy.com about this. And Japanese people actually do leave reviews. It's a misconception that they are much less likely to leave reviews. So in Japan, you actually are likely to get reviews. It really comes down to first of all, your ability to contact that person. So if you have a follow-up sequence in place or you lead them to a website with an insert in your product. And this is getting into the gray area, by the way. But you can do it in a compliant way if you're having them they need to actually apply in order to get their warranty, for instance. You can lead them to your website and then capture them in that way. But that'll only give you about 4% of people. But that allows you to kind of have that direct, unfettered communication with the folks. But eventually you do need those organic sale reviews because those are the only ones that are verified and the consumer knows. So it really comes down to, like I said before, getting that list, that ecosystem of customers on your own that you can rely on to constantly source things from. So I think, and there's so many ways to do that. If you have your own website, you can use pop-ups to grow that. If you have insert in your product, you can do that, but it'll only guarantee you about 4% of sales will lead in customer data. But there's limit. I mean, you can pay for it by doing a white paper. Like you said, if you built your brand around a specific person and you have you don't even have to generate the educational content. You can partner with somebody else who has generated already, or download a white paper that's already been made and use it as a lead magnet to gain. I'm sure you do this probably for your own podcast, Michael. We sure do it, Judolaunch. But if you have a white paper, you can drive traffic to that, use that as a lead magnet. And then once again, you have people in your ideal customer demographic that you own on your list as your customer base.
Makes a lot of sense. And just coming back to that, I mean, my recent advice to a couple of mentoring clients, even though they're just starting out, there's one lady who's very, very passionate about a particular sort of product line. And I think she's going to be in this for the longer haul. And I said, so look, this isn't the classic Amazon play. In your case, and I wouldn't say this in a lot of cases, I would start a blog, and I would maybe do a podcast, and
Totally.
just you can interview
Oh,
experts.
yeah.
You're not an expert in this area, but you're very, very curious about it. You've got friends who benefited from this product. It's a health related thing, and I'm going to reveal more about a client's product, obviously. But and I said, look, you're not the expert. You can do what I do is just interview experts, and
Yep.
then you get the positive, and you can interview the people on the expert side, the medical side, and you can interview people who this type of product has helped. So the sort of user side. And I said, to start with, you could just do an affiliate links to Amazon products which aren't even your own. And I said, over time, basically you're starting by growing your audience, and then you can put your product into the mix over time. And I think people get very sort of purist about Amazon. And I was having a conversation with my business partner about this the other day.
So true.
Dude, whatever makes money from our point of view, but also whatever serves people from the consumers or listeners or whatever point of view. And I think there's multiple different ways of breaking it down. I would say that the quickest way is, it's not a quick, easy thing, building a podcast and a blog and getting an audience. The quickest win is probably, like you were implying, just to partner with somebody who's already got that. I think influencer marketing is another huge trend, apart from being original with a design.
So huge.
Yeah, and I talked to Brian Bird about that, and I think I'm really sold on that. I mean, I really think that
Overgrowth.
Yeah, Overgrowth's a really great tool for that, actually. Yeah, which I'm an affiliate for if you want to check that out. But I mean, also, I think in the broader sense, whichever tool you use, again, it's about building a real brand, isn't it? It's about growing up and putting a big boy pants on, as you would say in the States. By the way, pants in Britain means something a little bit different. I think it's more like underpants or whatever you would call it in the States.
Really?
So, for future reference, if you've got any British investors you're trying to impress. So yeah, I think what you're implying, the reviews question led back to the growing your own audience question, which is very, very interesting to me. So it sounds like that's your main focus. That's where you perceive the value. Is that right?
I really think that's huge. I think that's one of the hugest things. I mean, if you were to name them probably in order, I would say the ability to differentiate product just for success in e-commerce in 2018, 2019, the ability to differentiate your product, your ability to build a community or connect with the relevant community around your product, and your ability to make, I would say explore unique channels and make unique partnerships that give you an X factor for your space or your product are the keys to growing a huge brand. And the brands that I see that are growing really, really fast, and actually this doesn't count Chinese sellers, by the way, which we said we would talk about. We can get into that briefly. But for brands that are building, like you said, brands around a persona, a specific person, the ones that are succeeding insanely are the ones doing those things. And we see them come through our platform. They come through, they book launches, they're booking more launches every month, and they're just growing insanely fast because they're doing this. They have a different product that, like, it's not just slapping a sticker on something. It really is, something that unique, but still validated by an existing market. It's not like a cooler that is also a blender and a phone charger or something. It is something that already sells, but has something unique to it.
Damn, that's it. I want that product. It sounds so crazy it might even sell, but as you said, what your market thinks is
co-founders, you and I can
co-founders
together, man.
Set it up. We've had the $1 million launch. We could have the $1 million loss now by just coming
in
your own bedroom, taking no market feedback and just launching this. Like, right, let's not do that. Chris, as you said, this is. I'm so glad you've gone through all this stuff on the brand building side. Again, the theme is coming back. It sounds like it's such an obsession of yours, and I think I'm being very, very convinced. I'm being very lazy about Amazon branding and product creation and creativity in the Amazon space, and I've separated that out in a way from my approach to the podcast. It's just been original, my thing. I've owned it. I've been creative in whatever ways. I bootstrapped my way through like this extraordinary looking thing behind me, which is like my amateurish version of a green screen. And, so the point is to apply that creativity now, I think, isn't it, to our Amazon businesses. And so we're going to have a quick chat. We're going to do another sort of brief episode, I think is a separate issue, about the Chinese sellers and how they approach stuff that's different from us, which we need to be very, very so different. So for now, we'll wrap up the thing on Judolaunch as a neat little segment and say thank you very much for all your input in that, Chris.
Thank you, Michael. It's been kicking.